Alright guys, so in this portion of the video, we're going to be working on our wireframe. Like I mentioned earlier, essentially we're going to be going with a one-page portfolio site, which is going to consist of two parts or two-page elements. The first part of that is going to be, the home page or the home screen. When you first get to the site, what people are going to see, and what it's going to display. So for this, we're basically going to be using what's called the standard website layout. And that's composed of a billboard or a hero section, as some people like to call it, with with an immediate call to action, and a little bit of copy. We're going to talk about some options for this once we get to the more high fidelity mockup and sketch, but for now we're basically just going to be drawing it out. So essentially, when you start with the standard website layout, you basically want, oops. So when you start out with the standard website layout, you basically want to draw out your viewport in your window. So this is just going to be, our browser. Like I said, I'm using a gridded notebook as well as a straight edged ruler, just for the purposes of having a more neat mockup. Awesome. So now we have the browser window. So with the standard website layout, you basically have a billboard or a call to action section. That's usually what most people would refer to as above the fold in web design. We're going to indicate this with just a cutoff of a top rectangle at the top of the viewport. Awesome. So this is going to be our billboard section. Some people have a cover photo here, so something like a big cover photo, but for now, we're just going to start out with some copy. Remember, this is just a low fidelity mockup. We're going to change copy and stuff and all that basically once we get to the coding of it and really talk about that stuff. We're also going to be writing some notes on this wireframe at the end of when we're done with the kind of layout. Basically just to talk about what we need to accomplish this in the high fidelity mockup. So I'm just going to put some copy here. Alternatively, if you don't have, explicit copy to write out, you could do something like block lines or squigglies to indicate that there will be some sort of text here. So usually with a call to action, you're going to want a button. You're going to want the user to be able to click on something. So I'm just going to indicate that with a small rectangle. And in here, I'm going to put contact. This button could be anything you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be contact. It could be view my last project or whatever. But the importance of having a call to action is that when someone comes to your site, if you immediately catch their interest, which is what our goal is with our design, and you have something for them to do, it's going to point them in the right direction. And with this button, that's going to go to wherever you want them to go, whether that be, contacting you for hire or viewing your latest project, or maybe a video tutorial that you did on YouTube or your last blog post on Medium. Whatever they might be, that's going to be the purpose of this section, which again is called the billboard or hero section, and the copy with the action is what composes the call to action. Awesome. So this section is the billboard. After the billboard, you want to basically have an information section, so an informative section. This can be composed of, portions of your background, experience, etc., whatever you like. Usually if the copy in my billboard isn't very descriptive, what I'll do is I'll have an about section here, or something just to get a little bit more detail about my background. But for the purposes of this site, we really want our main focus to be our work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with a gridded layout for our work. Basically make some boxes of what would be screenshots. Cool. So this could be, work, have that title. This could be skills. It could have, what skills that you use. Awesome, that actually looks pretty good. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and draw some more screenshot boxes. Awesome. So right now we basically have a section that will showcase our work, through screenshots, as well as a section that will list our skills. So here we could, have things like InDesign, Illustrator, Adobe Fireworks, HTML, CSS, things like that. And then in here we could have, nice high resolution screenshots of some mockups that we've done. So with this, to indicate that this is going to be a picture, I'm just going to put these little tick marks in the corner. And maybe we could have, a rectangular portion here with just the title of the project, so that our audience knows what project that we just worked on. So that looks actually pretty good for our homepage, our about page. So that looks pretty good. We could, put, about here, maybe have one of those cute circular photos here with a small paragraph about our journey as a designer, how we got interested in designer. Alternatively, we could switch this, our skills and our about section. We're going to talk about basically modifying your wireframe in that transition to a mockups in the next video, so make sure you guys subscribe for that. But essentially, when you're in the mockup stage, you don't necessarily want to commit to it too much. You basically just want to get a good idea down. You basically just want to get the fundamental points that you want to address with your layout and the priorities that you want your design to communicate. And I think we've accomplished that with this wireframe. We've got our billboard, a call to action, our work showcase, as well as our skills and our about section. And this looks fine. This looks good for now. We'd obviously include, a copyright in the footer, maybe our name and something like that. But for the purposes of laying it out, I think this looks good. It's a modification of the standard website layout, and I think we're in a good place to go from here. So I had mentioned that our site is going to be a 2-page or 2-portion element site. So basically what I'm going to do here is just very quickly mock up a design case study or a showcase for each individual project view. And this view could either be in a modal, which is also known as, a pop-up window within the same page, or this could be a secondary page. So you would click on one of these projects and it would bring you to a secondary page, which is the case study view. Or the other option, which I just mentioned, would be you would click on one of these projects and the modal would pop up with this case study view of each project. So here I'm just going to do very quickly a case study view and just show you guys and run through it, what that would consist of. So again, I'm just going to start with jotting out the browser window. Again, wireframes are something that you don't necessarily have to spend an entire day on or something like that, but you basically want to just think about the purpose of your design, what you want to accomplish with a layout, and then basically execute that in a very low fidelity, pen and paper wireframe to basically just give you a place to start once you go into your design tool of choice. We're going to be using Sketch, but you guys should be able to follow along in Photoshop. Let me know in the comments what design tool you guys are using and what tutorials you want to see for them. Awesome. So my goal for basically this page is to showcase more images of my project. So in this case, this might be a screenshot of the desktop. I might have 2 screenshots of the mobile or responsive views here. Cool. And then usually what I like to do for these case study pages or page elements is have a 2-column layout. I'm going to do a video on different layouts and things like that in a future video series. But for the purposes of this, we're going to go with the 2-column layout. And what this allows you to do is have your high resolution images of your work on one side and basically a story or a timeline or descriptors on the other side. So here I'm just going to put the project name as a big header. And here I'm going to put, workflow as a secondary header. Or maybe, alternatively, this could be timeline, etc. This could be, whatever you want. Project description, project goals, whatever. clientele report, case study, whatever you want here basically. And then here I'm just going to put a few paragraphs. You know, I might have some goal points in here, but usually it's going to be some paragraphs describing what process you went through. And then down here I'm going to put a big button, and that's, oops, sorry, I did not mean to indicate that was a picture. But I'm going to put a big button with the words go in it. And this, you know, I put in go just for the purposes of this, but essentially what this would do would be take you to the actual project. So if this was a website, that would take you to it. If this was a mobile application, that go link would take you to the iTunes app or App Store link in the browser, or whatever that may be. So this is looking pretty good. I think we have, between the 2 pages, a good place to start for a portfolio website. Like I said, once we get to the high fidelity mockups, we're going to talk about making modifications to these 2 things. But essentially, I think this is a good place to start. Finally, what I want to talk about is going back to our, design brief, or the page that we wrote down all of our notes with our goals and things like that, and just adding what we'll need to make these wireframes into a high fidelity mockup. I'm bringing back my lined notebook here, and essentially I'm just going to jot down real quick what we'll need for our next step in this series. Awesome. So what we're going to need for mockups is pictures, and we're going to need pictures of what? Our work. We're going to need pictures of ourselves. We're going to need copy. We're going to need copy descriptions of our work. We're also going to need a bio, a background, and we're also going to need links and contact information. Now, links could be composed of your social media accounts, blogs, basically any other thing that people can go on the web and you can reestablish your brand, show some more work, can have conversations with prospective employers and clients and other designers and things like that. So basically, these are the things that we're going to need to collect before we get to the next stage, or during the next stage, which is going to be making some very high fidelity mockups, implementing things like color, texture, and whatnot. So if you guys like that video on design briefs and wireframes, and you want to see more videos like that, please subscribe to stick around. I'm going to be continuing the series with fleshing out that mockup in Sketch. You guys that are using Photoshop and Illustrator should be able to follow along. I'm not going to be doing anything that's exclusive to Sketch, so I look forward to that. Like this video if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in part 2.